isn't chat showing up? Well, apparently, I guess you guys just don't exist right now. Well, you know, I guess it's only natural that we have some scuff happening here too. This is making me sleepy already. I'm so sorry to hear that, Grove. But yes, welcome in, Azina. Welcome in, Grove. A summer stream with the glowy eyes, DM, of course. What else do you expect? I mean, we may be pretty low budget here, but I will be attempting my best to provide the best experience for all of you, of course. Hey, Vess, welcome in. I hope you're doing well today. Oh, shiny Eternal City. It is the Eternal City right now again. Talk about, I mean, what? I don't know what's happening with chat. Like, why aren't y'all showing up? Like, I don't understand. Normally y'all show up just fine. Oh, wait, I think I know why here. There you all are. There we go. I don't know why that got messed up. Typically chat. Oh, right, because of OBS. Well, no, because I typically have a green screen showing at the moment, but not anymore. You're gonna be lurking, Vess. That's okay. Enjoy the lurk. You can also see Mr. Nikhil's palace. Yes, you can. It's right behind my head. If you would like to see yourself. But yes, if you need a lurk, that's perfectly fine, Vess. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Well, in reality, I hope all of you are having wonderful days, of course. But yes, I have. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I was excessively nervous about starting this. Like, I don't know. I always get very nervous whenever, like, it doesn't end. It just doesn't end, in my opinion. Where, well, maybe I got comfortable streaming, like, normally. But whenever we get to, like, events like these, it always feels genuinely, I feel very, very nervous. I mean, I don't know what else to say to you, Uber, but welcome in. I hope you're having a good day today. I'm sorry you need to subject yourself to something like this. At least you have to stick around only for, like, what? A few minutes so you can preserve your streak after all, right? Should have gone for mommy. You know, I am not your mother. I can promise you that much. It feels like you're being subjected to this. I'm not being subjected to this in the slightest. Thank you for the resubs, Vess. I appreciate it. That's very nice of you. Thank you very much. That's very sweet of you. Debatable. Well, you're I don't know. You're a debatable goober. I will say that much. Hey, Ghostface, welcome back. Or welcome in. I hope you're doing well today. Oh, nice. Congratulations, reaching 75% of the way towards the sub goal. We're at 8 out of 10. Yeah. But yes, today for I have I'm already fumbling my words. W pen. It's not a very good pen, I'll be honest with you. Yeah. But yes, today what I have in store for all of you is I will be reading through 5 stories that all are more or less about fantastical dreams and how these people wish they can go back to those experiences. However, they have to go back to the mundane life that they have to go back to. One of the 5 stories, yes, we'll be reading out 5 stories today, Uber. One of them is Polaris by H.P. Lovecraft. The other one is The Planet of the Dead by Clark Ashton Smith. Another one is A Dream of Armageddon by H.G. Wells. As for this one, it's The Door in the Wall, also by H.G. Wells. And the final story will be Mr. Skelmurder's Tale in Fairyland. No Yellow King. I have been recommended Yellow King before. However, I'm not sure if that's actually copyrighted or not, so we'll have to think about that one. I'll be honest with you there, Uber. This guy knows Paul. He does know Paul. Hey, Casimir, you're welcome in. I hope you're doing well today. Alright. But yes, get yourself nice and situated. Yes. I hope you're doing well, Casimir. It's good to see you. It's a book, my guy. Well, here's the thing about copyright. You're not allowed to stream that are copyrighted. That's so mean, Vess. Why'd you have to blame me? I can't even read the story right now. That's so rude. God damn it. It's okay. It's okay. Well, God damn it. It'll wear off eventually. There you go. Oh, okay. Fox did I do? That's okay. It's okay. Here, I guess we're getting all the routines right now. Here, let me fix that. Okay, I'm done. Okay, see. That is perfectly fine. Here, let's fix that right now. There we go. We'll be our 4-eared Goober. Hey, monster, welcome, and I hope you're doing well today. A castle background jumps off. Kidding. Please don't do that. Jesus, those routines. I mean, Vess basically he fired on all cylinders there. Basically. Let's see how long it takes for Xao to break character. I'm not going to break character. Unless y'all decide to do something very stupid, then I might break character there, I'll be honest with you. But I highly doubt that would be the case. Oh yes it will, that's not gonna happen. Too bad it's past midnight here. I'm sorry, Frenzy. I'm sorry that's the case. I will find out what you're in. I don't think Uber's okay, Xao mine. What do you mean? That is very adorable, Vess, honestly. But that's fair. I don't think you're gonna find a way, honestly, Uber. You were the last person to really force me to break character, I'll be honest with you. But I would like to see you try. Okay, let's mix a derby face. That's so Goober. That's so silly. Anyway. Right, so is that a challenge I hear? It's a massive challenge, I will tell you that much. Alright, it's time to start reading Polaris by H.P. Lovecraft. This one is relatively short compared to the other stories. This one's only 1,000 words long. Well, half of 2,000. No, 1.5. It's 1.5. For some reason, I really struggle with actually, the names themselves. Or, well, numbers. And I'm just making excuses. Forget about it. Okay. This story was published in 1920 in The Philosopher. Well, Emma Larkin fell asleep to this masterpiece. This is not a masterpiece, but thank you for the kind words. I genuinely appreciate it. Pretty Xao. I am not pretty. However, I thank you for the compliment at the very least. Casimir's super comfy. Well, that's good to hear. That makes me happy. Alright, let's begin reading the story. I need to give myself a little bit of breath right now. Thank you for the pats, Frenzy. I appreciate them. In the north window of my chamber, trying to make you break. You're not gonna make me break character. That's not gonna happen. In the north window of my chamber glows the pole star with uncanny light. Although the hellish hours of blackness, it shines there. And in the autumn of the year, when the winds of the north curse and whine, and the red-leaved trees of the swamp mutter things to one another in the small hours of the morning under the horned waning moon, I sit by the casements and watch that star down from the heights reels, the glittering Casopia, that's the word, as the hours wear on, while Charles Wayne lumbers up from behind, the vapor-soaked swamp trees that sway in the night wind. Yeah, ASMR, yeah. Just before the dawn, Artgus winks ruddedly from above the cemetery on the low hillock, and Coma Berenices shimmers weirdly afar off in the mysterious east. But still the pole star leers down from the same place in the black vault, winking hideously like an insane watching eye which strives to convey some strange message, yet recalls nothing save that it once had a message. light of the great aurora, when over the swamp played the shocking concussions, the daemon light and the beams came clouds, and then I slept. You mommy is how I know. Shut the hell up. That's not gonna happen in the slightest. No. Okay, the music. Okay, so is that too loud for all of you? I'm sorry. Is the music kicking? Is the music too loud? Is it okay? Here. It's kind of hard to. Okay, I see. Here, we'll just get through this one. Slightly lower. I would hope that better. Okay, that's good to hear. I apologize. It's sometimes this playlist can get a little bit loud. My power is too strong, a little bit strong, I'll be honest with you. Alright, back to where we were. And it was under a hard waning moon that I saw the city for the first time, still and somnolent. Did it lie on a strange plateau in a hollow betwixt strange peaks of ghastly marble, or its walls and towers, its columns, domes, and pavements, in the marble streets, the marble pillars, the upper parts of which were carven into the images of grave, bearded men. What's up, Ghostface? The air was warm and stirred not, and overhead, scarce 10 degrees from the zenith, glowed that watch pole star, vibing. That's good to hear. Long did I gaze on the city, but the day came not, when the red Alberon, which blinked low in the sky, but never set in, had crawled a quarter of the way around the horizon. I saw light and motion in the houses of the streets, forms strangely robed, but at once noble and familiar, walked abroad, and under the horned waning moon, men talked in wisdom, which I understood, though it was unlike any language I had ever known. And when the red Alberon had crawled more than halfway around the horizon, there were again darkness and silence. First emote was faint, I see. Can't fall asleep while there's a mommy worshipping my ears. That's so stupid. Oh my god, I can't believe that's insanely stupid. Alright. Did I break her? You didn't break me? No. But that was really freaking funny, honestly. Yep, nope. You did not. Daniel, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our merry band of goobers. I hope you enjoy your time here. Good evenings from Puerto Rico. My name is Daniel. It's my first time being here. Welcome in. I hope you have a good time here. And welcome into the chat room. I feel the whisper laughter sending me. I apologize. Somebody know, yes. Welcome in, Daniel. Welcome in. Welcome. Alright. When I awakened, I was not as I had been. Upon my memory was graven the vision of the city, and within my soul had arisen another, and a vaguer recollection of whose nature I was not then certain, had arisen, another and vaguer recollection of those whose nature I was not there certain. Thereafter, on cloudy nights, when I could sleep, I saw thee often, some sorry, Chainsaws. You, not me this time. It was Frenzy. Frenzy used the blind. Also, welcome in, Chainsaws. I hope you're doing well today. Hero, welcome in. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to our merry band of goobers. Welcome in. How's attempt 2 going? It's going pretty well. Also, welcome into the chat, Jeff. But yes, thank you for the follow. Congratulations on being our 290th follower. But attempt 2, I think it's going a lot better. Mostly because I feel like I'm getting into the groove of the things, you know. Hi, how are you? I'm doing well. And I hope you are doing well today as well. Thank you so very much. I'm having a wonderful time now getting ready for comfy and cozy. That's wonderful to hear. Get yourself nice and situated, Daniel. How would you sound whispering the dismay that I'm looking for an artist? Are you actually? Please don't. Don't look for an artist, Chainsaws, please. The embarrassment and the thought of alone puts me on edge. That's all I gotta say. But yes, I am doing very well, Jeff. Okay. Let us continue our story a little bit. Let's continue to this next paragraph. Holy account on Jeff, though. What do you mean? That reaction. Yeah, of course. Give me a moment. Let's see. Gradually, I came to wonder what might be my place in that city on the strange plateau betwixt strange peaks. At first content to view the scene as an all-observant, uncorporeal presence, I now desire to define my relation to it, and to speak my mind among the grave men who conversed each day. In the public squares I said to myself, this is no dream, for by what means can I prove the greater reality of that other life in the house of stone? And the brick south of the sinister swamp and the cemetery of the low hillock where the pole star peers into my north window each night. Thank you for the follow, Portable Jeff. Welcome to our merry band of goobers. I hope you enjoy your time here. I just love this ASMR community. I hear that this community is growing up quickly. It's a blessing after all. I mean, this is all new to me. Honestly. And I'm having a wonderful time learning how to do ASMR, you know. I'm down with this voice and community, so I'll be tuning anyone. That is very nice of you to say. Normal sound, mommy energy. Oh my god. I don't know what you're talking about, Asina. Don't know if I would go for cow. Can you stop? God damn it. That is not a thing that we need to see, Chainsaws. In this case, the virgin would wear, I mean, god damn it. Both of you are actually insane, like genuinely. The fact any of you are even considering of getting art like that of all things, I don't even know. Y'all are absurd, but yes. I am brand new to the ASMR space. I only have one stream, or I guess one VOD for ASMR. However, I'm having a wonderful time. The way you say it, I don't know what you're talking about, tells me I know exactly what you're talking about. That's not the case, I can promise you that much. Flirting with Sao is my specialty. Shut the hell up. Chase Stell, chase it all you want. Fine, the shirtless doobie outfit. You twist my arm, woman. Look, you're allowed whatever you want, Chainsaws. I mean, you're allowed whatever you want, that's perfectly okay. I don't judge what art you decide to commission if you ask me. I'm here all for it more than anything. Alright. Why not both context. Yeah, basically. Art is expensive to commission, but cool artists needed to eat. Exactly, yes. Cool artists need to eat as well. Alright, let us continue our story. One night, I listened to the discourse in the large square containing many statues. I felt a change and perceived that I had lost a bodily form, nor was I stranger in the streets of Alto, which lies on the plateau of Sarkis, betwixt the peaks of Norton and Cadiobenek. It was my friend Alos who spoke, and his speech was the one that pleased my soul, for it was the speech of a true man and patriot. That night had the news come of Tychos' fall, and of the advance of the Indidos, squat, hellish, yellow fiends who 5 years ago had appeared out of the unknown, west to ravage the confines of our kingdom, and finally to besiege our towns, having taken the fortified places at the foot of the mountains. Their way now lay open onto the plateau, unless every citizen could resist the strength of 10 men. For the squat creatures were many and mighty in the arts of war, and knew not of the scruples of honor which held back our tall, gray-eyed men of Lamar from the ruthless conquest. Thank you for the pats, Grossface. I appreciate them. By the way, I just love the name. Love the name Xao. I think it's Mandarin Chinese, if I guess correctly. Yes, I took the name based off of its Chinese origins, Mandarin Chinese origins. So I guess I could get it cheaper if I do a commission with the Opera. I mean, technically, yes, that is a classic, I suppose. You're not wrong about the BLT chainsaws. So my important question is, what's your important question, Azina? Boop. Yes, I will boop you too, Ghostface. The next paragraph is the very long one, so let's converse a little bit before we continue. Yes, Azina, you are in fact a good girl. Got him. There you go. I have an important question. Oh, me too. Okay, so how many questions do all of you really have? Y'all are absurd, genuinely. Alright, I will give you a few more seconds before I continue this story. Pokey Cutie Pie, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our merry band of goobers. I hope you enjoy your time here. I'm saving my question. Alright then, Jeff, that's okay. Hello, welcome into the chat. Welcome into the chat. Pokey Cutie. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. And welcome into the chat, of course. Although we are mom years. Do you feel bonita? Yes, I feel very bonita. Chainsaws. Am I a good boy? Stop. Y'all are absurd, genuinely. Look, no more I just wanted to interrupt again. That's very diabolic of you. That is excessively diabolical of you, honestly. Blood, we're never finishing the book. Yeah, we're not going to finish the first book, unfortunately, Uber. Oh, H.P. Lovecraft, America's favorite. Yes, it is America's favorite racist. Anyway. Alright. Alas, my friend, was commander of all the forces on the plateau, and in him lay the last hope of our country. On this occasion he spoke of the perils to be faced, and exhorted of the men of the Alto, bravest of the Lomarians, to sustain the traditions of their ancestors, who, when forced to move southward from Zobana, before the advance of the great ice sheet, even as our descendants must someday flee from the land of Lamar, valiantly and victoriously swept aside the hairy, long-armed cannibal Novlis that stood in their way. To me, Allah denied a warrior's part, for I was feeble and given to strange faintings, when subjected to stress and hardships. But my eyes were the keenest in the city, despite the long hours I gave each day to study of the Gnostic manuscripts and the wisdom of the Zomniarian fathers. So my friend, desiring not to doom me into action, reward me with that duty, was the second to nothing in importance. To the watchtower of the Thanbin, he sent me there to serve as the enemies of our army. Should the Enotos attempt to gain the citadel by the narrow pass behind the peak, Noton, and hereby surprise the garrison, I was to give the signal of fire, which would warn waiting soldiers to save the town from immediate disaster. That's pretty horrifying if you ask me, honestly. She just met me. We don't know if I'm a good boy or not. But neutral boy makes for a poor trigger. You're not wrong there, Jeff. A neutral boy is not a very good trigger, sadly. H.P. Lovecraft's, yeah. That is H.P. Lovecraft's cat. 1,000 eyes open, grant me sight to see the end, yes. No, I'm good. I just like it when people do their due diligence to see if I am or not. That is fair. Jesse James, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to our merry band of goobers. I hope you enjoy your time here. Get yourself nice and comfy, get situated, and enjoy the story. On to the next paragraph. Alone, I mounted the tower, for every man and stout body was needed in the passes below. My brain was sore dazed with excitement and fatigue, for I had not slept in many days. Yet was my purpose firm, for I loved my native land of Lomar, and the marble city of Altho, that lies betwixt the peaks of Noton and Cariofenic. You ever seen what his cat is called? I don't know what his cat is called. What is H.P. Lovecraft's cat called? Oh, dearest mother, may we perchance get this absolute peak content every week? I am considering it. However, I need to mentally prepare myself to consistently get this every week. I will be honest with you. Frenzy. Look it up. I'll be banned if I say it. That is not a good sign. Here. I cannot type it because my keyboard is too loud. However, I will Google that after the stream. Chainsaws. Okay. But as I stood in the tower's topmost chamber, I beheld the horned, waning moon was insanely hard while studying math. That's good to hear. Yeah, Lakshmi, god of fertility. I don't think that's a god I want to align myself with, I'll be honest with you, Chainsaws. Right, so, okay, we have plenty of time. Okay, so, in my shame and despair, I sometimes scream frantically, begging the dream creatures around me to waken me, the Inotos steal up to pass behind the peak of Naughton, and take the citadel by surprise. But these creatures and daemons, for they laugh at me and tell me I am not dreaming. They mock me whilst I sleep, and whilst I squat, yellow foe may be creeping silently upon us. I have failed in my duty and betrayed the marble city of Altho. I may have proven false to Alos, my friend and commander, but still these shadows and my dream deride me. They say there is no land of Lomar, save in my nocturnal imaginings, that in those realms where the pole star shines high and red, Aldebaran crawls low, and the horizon there has been naught, save for ice and snow for the thousands of years. And never a man save squat yellow creatures, blighted by the cold, whom they call Exquimox. As I writhe in my guilty agony, frantic to save the city with those peril, every moment grows, and vainly striving to shake off this unnatural dream of a house of stone and brick, south of the sinister swamp and the cemetery on a low hillock, the pole star, evil and monstrous, leers down from the black vault, winking hideously like an insane, watching eye, which strives to convey some strange message, yet nothing save that it once had a message to convey. And that is Polaris by H.P. Lovecraft. Thankfully, we did manage to get past the first book. But yes, that is Polaris by H.P. Lovecraft. It was published in 1920 in The Philosopher, and which I would assume that is. I know, so. I am not a mother. I can promise you, okay? I am anything but a mother, okay? Alright. Okay, the next story in mind is The Planet of the Dead. Francie, you're not Doix, my guy. Apparently not. No. Are we not your children? It depends, really. I suppose. Maybe, maybe not. Honestly, if Uber was my child, I think I'd do a very poor job at taking care of him, honestly, but that's a different matter entirely. Okay. So, the next story is considerably longer than Polaris. What's that supposed to mean, Xao? That's... It means nothing. It means nothing, Uber. A man going insane, as if stars was the great tempters that led him out to the cold, the futility of idealism and cruel fate. Exactly, Chainsaws, exactly. Today's test is a 99. Look, I'm a golden child. I am not a golden child, but I am a little bit jealous of Uber, honestly. Okay, our next story is The Planet of the Dead. This was published by Clark Ashton Smith. It is a sci-fi mystery story. It was published in 1932 in Weird Tales, Volume 19, Number 3. I blind myself every time I look at the movie. That's so silly. H.P. Lovecraft, for true art should comfort the deserved and disturb the comfortable. Exactly. Right. Okay. Let us begin this new story. By profession, Francis Melanquire was a dealer in antiques. By avocation, he was an astronomer. Thus he contrived to placate, if not to satisfy, two needs of somewhat complex and unusual temperament, if not to satisfy two needs of a somewhat complex, unusual temperament. Though his occupation he gratified in a measure, his craving for all things that have been stepped in the mortuary shadows of dead ages, in the dusky amber flames of long sunken suns. All things have been about them, and all things that have about them that irresolubly mystery of departed time. And though his avocation he found a ready path to exotic realms, in further space to only spheres where his fancy could dwell in freedom, and his dreams could not know contentment. For Melanquire was one of those who were born with an implacable distaste for all that is present or near at hand. One of those who have drunk too lightly on oblivion, and have not wholly forgotten the transcendent glory of those aeons, and the worlds from which those were exiled into human birth, so that their furtive, restless thoughts and dim, unquenchable longings return obscurely towards the vanishing shores of a lost heritage. The earthly is too narrow for such, and the compass of mortal time is too brief. The paucity and barrenness, and everywhere and all places, their soft lot is not ever, and never was, a never-ending weariness. Sound fine, I'll give you a kiss. Please don't give me a kiss. Look, I only ever rarely give out kisses. Okay, Frenzy? Rycon, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to our merry men of Goobers. I hope you enjoy your time here. of a solitary, and was generally looked upon as an eccentric. He had never had interests. He never cared to marry. He had made no intimate friends. He had lacked many interests, which, in the eyes of the average person, are supposed to characterize a normal human being. So, this guy was pretty much a loner. I mean, that's okay. Maybe he wanted to be alone. That's also fine too. Melchior's passion for antiques and his devotion to the stars both dated from his childhood days, now in his 31st year. With increasing leisure and prosperity, he had turned an upper balcony of his suburban hilltop into an amateur observatory. Here, with a new and powerful telescope, he studied the summer heavens night after night. He possessed little talent and less inclination for those recondite mathematical calculations which form so large a part of an orthodox astronomy. But he had an intuitional grasp of the heavenly immensitudes, a mystic sensitivity towards all that is far off in space. His imagination roamed and adventured among the suns of the nebulae, and for him each tiny gleam of telescopic light appeared to tell its own story and invite him towards its own unique realm of ultra-mundane fantasy. He was not greatly concerned with the names of the astronomers have given to particular stars or constellations, but nevertheless, each of them possessed for him a separate individuality, not to be for any other. In especial, Melchior was drawn by 1 minute wide flung constellation south of the Milky Way. It was barely discernible to the naked eye, and even though his telescope, it gave an impression of cosmic solitude and remoteness, such as he had never felt in any orb. It allured him more than the moon, surrounded planets, or the first magnitude stars with their flaming spectra. And he returned it again and again, forsaking for its lonely point in the skies. Lonely point of light, the marvelous manifold rings of Saturn and the cloudy zone of Venus, and the intricate coils of the nebula Andromeda. What did I walk to? Sounds like Eldritch horror. Actually, give me a moment. Currently, we are reading a story, Jai. We are reading The Planet of the Dead. It is a sci-fi mystery story published by Clark Ashton Smith. Right now, it's a sci-fi mystery story that we're reading. Lovecraftian writer, no. It is sci-fi and mystery. It is not Lovecraftian. It potentially could be. We haven't gone through the entire story just yet, Uber. But welcome in, Jai. I hope you are having a good time today. mystery was implicit in that light. If one could ready the tale and yet longed to understand and to know the far-woven thread of affinity which drew his attention so perennially to this particular orb, on occasion when he looked, his brain was tantalized by obscure imitations of loveliness and wonder that were still a little beyond reach of his boldest reveries, of his wildest dreams, and each day they seemed a trifle nearer and more attainable than before, and a strange, indeterminate expectancy began to mingle with the eagerness that prompted his evening visits to the balcony. Thanks, everything good. I hope you're having a good time enjoying the story. Yes, I'm having a very good time reading out these stories. It's been very fun, Jai. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let me adjust myself just one moment. Okay, let's see. Alright, let us continue the story again. One midnight, when he was peering through the telescope, he fancied that the star looked a little larger and a little brighter than usual. Unable to account for this, in a mounting excitement, he stared more intently than ever, and he was suddenly seized by an unnatural idea that he was peering downward into a vast, vertiginous abyss, rather than toward the zenithal havens. He felt that the balcony was no longer beneath his feet, but had somehow become inverted, and then, all at once, he was falling from it into the headlong ether, with a million thunders and flames about and behind him. For a brief while, he seemed to see the star he had been watching far down in the terrible Cimmerian void. Then he forgot and could find it no more. There was a sickness of incalculable descent, an ever-swifting torrent, a vertigo not to be borne, and after moments or eons, he could not tell which. The thunders and flames died out in ultimate darkness, in utmost silence, and he no longer knew that he was falling, and no longer retained any sort of sentiency. That was chapter 1. So far, it's feeling pretty cosmic horror, if you ask me. Though honestly, I think it's pretty fascinating how he finds himself in this predicament where he's utterly obsessed with the sky above him. It sounds amazing. Alright, let us begin chapter was the involuntary movement of one who has fallen in a dream. In a moment he realized the absurdity of his impulse, for he was not sitting in a chair at all, and his surroundings bore no manner of resemblance to the nocturnal balcony on which he had been seized by a strange vertigo, and from which he had seemed to fall and lose himself. He was standing on a road paven with cyclopean blocks of grey stone, a road that ran interminably before him into a vague, tremendous vistas of an inconceivable world. There were low, funeral, drooping trees along the road, with sad-colored foliage and fruits of a deathly violet, and beyond the trees were range on range of monumental obelisks, of terraces and domes, of colossal multiform piles that reached away in endless, countless perspectives towards an indistinct horizon. What's up, Casimir? What's up with the meows? What's up with the cats? These look so adorable if you ask me. I just want to make you chuckle. It doesn't take me much to make me laugh, I'll be honest with you, Casimir, you know this. Okay, let us continue this paragraph. Yes, exactly. Well, when it's Xao, it's easy. Yes, it is very easy to make me laugh. You're not there, you're not wrong there, Uber. It is very easy to make me laugh for sure. Right. Over all from the ebon purple zenith, there fell in rich, unlustrous rays of illumination of a blood-red sun. The forms of proportions of the labyrinthian mass of buildings were unlike anything that has been designed in terrestrial architecture, and for an instant Melchior was overwhelmed by their number and magnitude, by their monstrosity and bizarrerie. Then, as he looked once more, they were no longer monstrous, no longer bizarre, and he knew them for what they were. And they knew the world upon which road his feet were set in, and the destination he was to seek, and the part he was fated to play. It all came back to him as inevitably as the actual deeds and impulses of life returns to one who has thrown himself, obviously for a while, into some dramatic role that is foreign to his real personality. The incidents of his existence as Francis Melchior, though he still recalled them, he had become obscure and meaningless and grotesque in the reawakening of a state of entity, with all its train of recovered reminiscences, of revived emotions and sensations. There was no strangeness, only the familiarity of a homecoming. In that fact, he had stepped into another condition of being, with its own environment, with its own past, present, and future. place. It is very interesting. I will say that is not, like I said, this is very much sounding very Lovecraftian if you asked me. I will say that much. Of course, I am Andarian, he mused. Who else could it be? The language of his thoughts was not English, nor any earthly language or tongue. But he was not surprised by his knowledge of this language. Nor was he surprised when he looked down and saw that he was attired in a costume of somber, moth-like red, of a style unknown to any human people or epoch. This costume was in certain differences in his physical personality that would have appeared rather odd and little previously, were quite as he expected them to be. He gave them only a cursory glance as he revised and reviewed in his mind the circumstances of the life he had now resumed. So he was no longer Melchior, I'm assuming. He was always this person called Andarian. Interesting. Give me a minute to hydrate. Okay. He, Antarian, a renowned poet, land of Camarlos, in the elder world that was known to its living peoples by the name of Fimeton. He had gone on a brief journey to a neighboring realm. In the course of this journey, a distressing dream had befallen him, the dream of a tedious, unprofitable life, as one of Francis Melchior, in a quite unpleasant and unpeculiar sort of planet, lying somewhere on the farther side of the universe. He was unable to recall exactly when and where he had been beset by these dreams, and he had no idea how long it lasted, but at any rate, he was glad to be rid of it, and glad that he had now approaching his native city of Sadoth, where dwelt in her and splendid place of past eons, the beautiful Themia, who he loved. Now once more, after the obscure clouding of that daydream, his mind was full of wisdom, and his heart was eloped by 1,000 memories of Themia, and was darkened at whiles by an old anxiety concerning her. Thank you for the Bongo Brigade wire, or Bess, I appreciate it. Let's see, let us continue. Not without reason had Melchior been fascinated lesser abodes, wherein the living dwelt, and throughout Vendium the bygone years were a tangible presence, an air that enveloped all, and the Brightland the people we steeped in the crepuscular gloom of antiquity, and were wise with all manner of accumulated lore, and were subtle in the practice of strange refinements of erudite pervisvites, of all that can shroud with artful opulence and grace and variety the bare uncouth cadaver of life, or hide from mortal vision the leering skull of death. And here in Sadath, beyond the domes of terraces and columns of the huge necropolis, a necromantic flower wherein forgotten lilies live again, there bloomed the superb and sorrowful loveliness of the Mira. That was chapter 2. It seems that his love has now passed away. It is unfortunate. That is the fate that befell her. Okay. Let's see. Chapter Greek. Yeah, it's very hard to hide sounds when you have your gain cracked up, Uber. It is. I mean, I have a leathered computer chair, so you'll be hearing like little leather, like, rub up again, whatever. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Okay. Rubber ad noises, yeah, basically. Okay. Melchior, in his consciousness as the poet and Darian, was unable to remember a time where he had not loved Thamira. She had been an ardent passion, an exquisite ideal, a mysterious delight, an enigmatic grief. He had adored her implicitly through all Selenic changes of her moods and childish petulance, her passionate and material tenderness, her sublime silence, her merry or macabre whims, of all. Perhaps in an obscure sorrows and terrors that overwhelmed her. At times, whispered storytelling ASMR makes me feel sleepy, and it's super soft and soothing. That's wonderful to hear. That makes me happy. I'm capable of providing that experience to you, Daniel. Let's see. Now, let us continue the story. museumism consummate, and already and little moribund Atarian had found an ample satisfaction for all the instincts of his being. He believed as an intellectual sybarite, and by the virtue of a half-primitive figure, had not fallen yet upon the spiritual exhaustion and desolation, the dread of implicable ennui and racial sentience that marked so many of his fellows. Interesting. The mirror was even more sensitive, more visionary by nature, and hers was the ultimate refinement that is close to an autumnal decay. The influences of the past were a source of poetic fruition to Antarian, were turned by her delicate nerves of pain and languor to horror and oppression. The palace wherein she lived and the very streets of Sadoth were filled with emanations that welled from spherical reservoirs of death, and the weariness of the immeasurable dead was everywhere. And evil or opiate presences came forth from the mausoleum vaults to crush, to stifle her within the formless brooding of their wings. Only in the arms of Antarian could she escape them, and only in his kisses would she forget. Yeah, no, this is really fascinating, honestly. Just the way how we've entered this dreamlike, almost otherworldly experience has been nothing but fascinating, if you ask me. On to the next paragraph. Now, after his journey, whose reason could not quite remember, and after the curious dream in which he had imagined himself as Francis Melchior, Antarian was once more admitted to the presence of the mirror by slaves who were invariably discreet, being tongueless. In the oblique light of beryl and topaz windows, in the mauve and crimson gloom of heavy folded tapestries on the floor of a marvelous mosaic wrought in ancient cycles, as gentle as an air that is from among flowering trees, and melancholy as remembered music. And Darian would have knelt, but she took him by the hand and led him to the couch beneath the intricately figured curtains. There the lovers sat and looked at each other in affectionate silence. Are all things well with you, Thamira? The query was prompted by the anxious divination of love. No, all things are not well. Why did you go away? The wings of death and darkness are abroad. They hover more closely than ever, and shades more fearful than those of the past have fallen upon Sadoth. There have been strange permutations in the aspects of the skies, and our astronomers, after much study and calculation, have announced the imminent doom of the sun. There remains to us but a single month of light and warmth. Then the sun will go out on the noontide havens like an extinguished lamp, and eternal night will fall, and the chill of the outer space will creep across Vendéum. Our people have gone mad with the pretended horror, and some of them sunk in despairing apathy, and more have given themselves to frenzied revels and debaucheries. Where have you been, Andarian? In what dream did you lose yourself, that you could forsake me for so long? And Darian tried to comfort her. Love is still ours, he said, and even if the astronomers have read the skies aright, we have a month before us, and a month is much. Yes, but there are other perils, Andarian. Huspa, the king, has looked upon me with the eyes of senile desire, and the woes me assiduously with gifts and vows and with threats. It is sudden, inexorable whim of age, and ennui, the caprice of desperation. He is cruel and relentless. He is all-powerful. I will take you away, said Andarian. We will flee together and dwell among the sepulchres and the ruins where none can find us. And love and ecstasy shall bloom like flowers 6 chapters. How many books you got left? That was fantastic. Yes, that's good to hear. There are 6 chapters, and we have 3 more books to go through, Uber. Let's see. Right. Okay, let us begin. Chapter 4. Beneath the black midnight that hung above them, like an imminence of colossal, unremoving wings, the streets of Sadoth were aflame with a million lights of yellow and cinnabar and cobalt and purple, along with vast avenues of gorge-deep alleys, and in and out of stupendous olden palaces, temples, and mansions, there poured the antic revelry, the tumultuous merriment of a night-long masquerade. Everyone was aboard, from Haspa the king and his sleek Siberic courtiers to the lowliest merchants and pariahs, and the rout and extravagant, unheard of costumes and melagne, of fantasies and more various than those of an opium dream, seethed and eddied everywhere. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna last much longer. That's fine, Uber. I understand. If you need to leave, that is okay. I appreciate you tuning in. Breakdances. I mean, enjoy the breakdance, Ghostface. Alright, as we were. As Themira had said, the people were mad with the menace of doom foretold by the astronomers, and they sought to forget in a swift, ever-mounting delirium of all the senses their dread of the nearing night. Late in the evening, Antarian, left by a postern door the tall and gloomy mansion of his forefathers, and wended his way through the hysteric whirling of the throng toward Themira's palace. He was garbed in apparel of an antique style, such as had not been worn for a score of centuries in Fido, and his whole head and face were enveloped in a painted mask designed to represent the peculiar physiognomy of a people now extinct. No one could have recognized him, nor could he be part. He could be a part, have recognized many of the revelers he had met, no matter how well known to him, for most of them were disguised in apparel no less outer, and wore masks that were whimsical or absurd or loathsome or laughable beyond conception. There were devils and empresses and deities. There were kings and necromancers from all of the far, unfathomed ages of Vanium. There were monsters of medieval or prehistoric types. There were things that had never been born or beheld, except in the minds of the insane, decadent artists, seeking to surpass the abnormalities of nature. Even the doom had been drawn upon from inspiration. All shrouded mummies, worm-gnawed cadavers, promenade among his own, and which was no less impenetrable to recognition. After a brief murmur of greeting, they stole forth together from the garden and joined oblivious throng. And Tyrion had feared that Thamira might be watching the henchmen of Hospa. But there was no evidence of such watching. No one was in sight who seemed to lurk or loiter. Only the swift movement of an ever-changing crowd, preoccupied with the quest of pleasure. In the crowd, he felt that they were safe. However, through a scrumptious caution, they had allowed themselves to be carried along for a while in the tide of the city's revel before they sought the long arterial avenue that led to the gates. They joined in the singing, the Femsen songs. They returned to the Benchelian jests that were flung by passers-by. They drank the wines that were proffered by them by public urn-bearers. They tarried when the throng tarried, moved when it moved. Everywhere there were mildly and wildly flaming lights, and the rapidly of loud voices, and the strident moan or vehement pulsing of musical instruments. There were feasting in great squares, and the doorways of immemorial houses poured out a flood of illumination, a tumult of laughter and melody, as they offered their hospitality to all who might choose to enter them. And in the huge temples of former aeons, delirious rites were done by the gods, who stared forth with an unchanging eyes of stone and metal to the hopeless havens, and the priests and the worshippers drugged themselves with terrible opiates, and sought the stupefying ecstasy abandonment to an hysteria both carnal and devout. That makes me want to think, that music wants me to think of the dungeon scene. That's fair. Wei. Welcome in, Trimbala. Welcome to the chat. I hope you're doing well today. Wei see. On to the next paragraph. But yes, I do hope you're having a wonderful day, Trimbala. Welcome. Okay. At length, and Tyrion and Thamira, by unobtrusive states, by many windings and turnings, began to approach the gate of Sabbath for the first time in their history. Their gates were unguarded for general demoralization. The sentinels... Okay, I guess apparently my model decided to stop and just get buggy. I don't know. Thank you for the pats, Ghostface. I appreciate them. Here, let me fix the tracking one moment. first time in their history, these gates were unguarded for the general demoralization the sentinels had stolen away without fear of dedication or reproof to join the universal gathering. Here in the outlying quarter, there were few people, and only the scattered flotsam of the revels and the broad open space between the houses in the city. Walls were utterly abandoned. No one saw the lovers when they slept like evanescent shadows through the grim yawning of the gates, and followed the grey road into the darkness thronged with the dim bulks of mausoleums and monuments. Perfect ASMR for Chef's Kiss. I see, that's wonderful to hear. Here, the stars that had been blinding by the flaring lights of Sadoth were clearly visible in the burnt-out sky, and presently, as the lovers went on, the two small Ashia moons of Phantium rose from behind the necropoles and flung the despairing languor of their faint beams on the multitudinous domes and minarets of the dead, and beneath the twin moons that drew their uncertain light from the dying sun, and Tyrion and Thamira doffed their masks and looked at each other in silence luxuries as they would require in the interim of oblivion. And here they were secure from all pursuit, for Huspa, in driven fever and goaded ennui of his last days, has doubtless turned the satisfying of some other less difficult carapaces, and had already forgotten the mirror. Here, feel think exactly. I'm gonna need to head off to bed now, but I hope your stream goes well and have fun with the ASMR. Thank you, Uber. I appreciate you tuning in. You have a good night's rest. I hope you sleep well. Thank you very much for tuning in. What's up, Casimir? Let's see. Now I'm getting sleepy. Okay. And now for the lovers. Begone. Yawns. Yeah, exactly. And now for the lovers. Alright, fine. Okay. Alright, get out of here, Uber. Go sleep. Again, have a good night's rest. You sleep well. And now for the lovers began the life that was a brief epitome of all possible delight and despair. And strangely enough, Thamira was lost. The vague fears that had tormented her, the dim sorrows that had obsessed, and was wholly happy in the caresses of Antarian. And since there was so little time to express their love, to share their thoughts, their sentiments, their reveries, there was never enough said or enough done between them, and both were fully content. But the swift, relentless days went by. Day by day, the red sun that circled above Vandium was darkened by a tinge of coming shadow, and the chillness stole upon the quiet air, and the still havens, where never clouds or winds or bird wings passed, were ominous doom. And day by day, Antarian and Thamira saw the dusk of the sun from a ruinous terrace above the dead lake, and night by they saw the paling of the ghostly moons. And their love became an intolerable sweetness, a thing too deep and too dear to be born of mortal heart or mortal flesh. General Gremlin, thank you very much for the follow. Thank you, thank you. Welcome to our merry band of goobers. I hope you enjoy your time here. Thank you for the flower ghost face. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. But yes, welcome, welcome, Gremlin. Let us continue the chapter, or the next paragraph. Mercifully, they had lost the strict count of time, and knew not the number of days that had passed, and thought that several more dawns and moons and eves of joyance were before them. They were laying together on a couch, on or in the old palace, a marble couch that the slaves had strewn with luxurious fabrics, and were saying over and over litany of love, when the sun was studying when the premonitory vertigo and had seized him. The configuration of the skies had hardly changed. The surrounding constellation was still high in the southeast. But with a shock that became a veritable stupefaction, he had saw that the star itself had disappeared. Hi cutie, hi cutie. Hi cutie, cuties. Hi Mia, welcome in. I hope you're doing well today. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. But yes, I hope you are having a very wonderful Sunday. I hope it's been relaxing. Alright, let us begin this final chapter to end this story. Never, though, he searched the heavens night and after night through the alternation of many seasons, he has been able to find again little far-off orb that drew him so inexplicably and irresistibly. He bears a double sorrow, and though he has grown old and gray with the lender of fruitless years, with the buying and selling of antiques and study of the stars, Francis Melchior is still a little doubtful as to which is the real dream. His lifetime on earth, or the month of Vantium below a dying sun, when, as the poet Anterion, he loved the superb and sorrowful beauty of Thamira, and always he is troubled by a dull regret that he should have ever have wakened from the death that he died in the palace of Analnomotunmen, with Thamira in his arms and Thamira's kisses on his lips. He will forever wonder whether, if it had all been nothing but a dream. I don't know why my tracking keeps dying there. But that is the end of the Planet of the Dead. I hope all of you enjoyed that story. It was very fascinating. I never realized how it got really confusing when we learned about he had been living two separate lives, once in this dream and the other when he lived on Earth. I personally found it very fascinating. But yes, welcome in, Mia. I hope you are doing well today. It's good to see you. I hope you're not sick or anything. I really do hope you're okay. Okay, no more Roxify. What was it? Yeah, Foxify and Catify ran out. There we go. Let's go back to our normal form. Time flies these days. Slept through the story. That's okay. It was a very long one, if you ask me, Daniel. It was very fascinating. Essentially, it was this tale of this man dreaming of living a life entirely separate of his own. And he woke up from this existential horror of his world ending. And he's left wondering to dream if whether his dream was reality or nothing more than a figment of his imagination. Indeed it is. Yes, it was very fascinating. Alright. us begin the next story. This next story is The Door in the Wall. It is written by H.G. Wells. This was published in 1906 in the Daily Chronicle in the 14th of July. This is a fantasy literary tragedy. What time is it for you? For me, it is currently 7:01 p.m. So, I am on EST time. Daniel, what time is it for you? Puerto Rico, Atlantic Standard Time. That's fair. So you are 1 hour ahead of me. That's okay. That's okay. If anything, this might work out a little better because since you live at a later time. Alright, chapter 1. One confidential evening, not 3 months ago, Lionel Waltz told me the story of the door in the wall. And at the same time, I thought, so far as he was concerned, it was a true story. He told it to me with such direct simplicity and conviction that I could not otherwise than believe in him. But in the morning in my own flat, I woke up to a different atmosphere. As I lay in bed and recalled the things he had told me, stripped of the glamour of his earnest, slow voice, denuded of the focus, shaded table light of the shadowy atmosphere that wrapped about him and me, and the pleasant, bright things, the desert and glasses of napery of the dinner we had shared, making them for the time a bright little world cut off from everyday realities. I saw it as quite frankly incredible. He was mystifying, I said. And then, how well he did it. It isn't quite the thing. I should have expected him, of all people, to do well. Interesting. against an imputation of slackness and unreliability I had made in relation to a great public movement in which he had disappointed me. But he plunged suddenly. I have, he said, a preoccupation. I know, he went on after a pause. After I have been negligent. The fact it isn't a ghost or case of ghosts or apparitions, but it's an odd thing to tell. Redmond, I am haunted. I am haunted by something that rather takes the light out of things, that fills me with longings. He paused, checking by that English shyness that so often overcomes us when we speak of moving or grave, beautiful things. You were a saint at Lesia, although, he said, and for a moment that seemed to me quite irrelevant. Well, and he paused. Then, very haltingly, at first, but afterwards more easily, he began to tell the thing he was hidden in his life, the haunting memory of a beauty and happiness that filled his heart with insatiable belongings, that had made his interests and spectacle of worldly life seem dull and tedious and vain to him. Now that I have a clue to it, the thing seems visibly in his face. I have a photograph in which that look of detachment has been caught and intensified. It reminded me of a woman once said of him, a woman who had loved him gratefully. Suddenly, she said, the interest goes out to him. He forgets you. He doesn't care a rap for you. Under his very nose. Yet the interest was not always on him, and when he was holding his attention to a thing, Wallace contrived to be an extremely successful man. His career, indeed, is set with success. He left me behind him long ago. He soared up over my head and cut a figure in the world that I couldn't cut anyhow. He was still a year short of a 40, and they say now that he would have been in office and very probably in the new cabinet if he had lived at school. He always beat me without effort, as it were my nature. We were at school together at St. Edlistan's College in West Kingston for almost all our school time. He came to the school as my co-equal, but he left far above me in a blaze of scholarships and brilliant performance. Yet, I think I made a fair average running. And it was at school I heard first of the door in the wall, Crimson Virginia wall, or Crimson Virginia creeper in it. Thank you for the pats, Vess. I appreciate them. Thank you very much. All one bright uniform. Hey Vio, welcome in. I hope you're doing well today. Hey Yoshinori, thank you for the resub. I genuinely appreciate it. Welcome in, you too. Welcome, welcome. Okay. As I were, all in one bright uniform crimson hello. I hope you're doing well today. In a clear amber sunshine against the white wall that came into the impression somehow, though I don't clearly remember how, and there were horse chestnut leaves upon the clean pavement outside the green door. Sorry to interrupt, you're okay, don't worry about it. They were blotched yellow and green, you know, not brown, not dirty, so that they must have been new fallen. I take it that means October. I look out for horse chestnut leaves every year, and I thought to know. Thank you very much. I appreciate the compliment, Yoshinori. But that's okay. And don't worry about apologizing for interrupting. You're okay. Thank you very much for resubbing again. I genuinely appreciate it. Okay. Rawr. Massive Goober, Ghostface. You're a massive Goober. Ghosty Goober, no problem. Of course, of course. If I'm right, I was about 5 years and 4 months old. Hi again. Welcome back, Ghostface. Welcome back. Okay, let us continue this paragraph. He said, rather a precocious little boy. He learned to talk at an abnormally early age, and he was so sane and old-fashioned, as people say, that he was permitted an amount of initiative that most children scarcely attain by 7 or 8. His mother died when he was 2, and he was under less vigilant and authoritative care of his nursery governess. His father was stern, preoccupied lawyer who gave him little attention and expected great things of him. For all things brightness, he found life gray and dull. I think one day he wandered. Was watching a friend play Kingdom Hearts 3 on a streak. I came back. I see. That's wonderful to hear. I hope it was an enjoyable experience to watch them play Kingdom Hearts 3. Go Says. Okay. He could not recall the partner neglect that enabled him to get away, nor the course he took among the West Kingston roads, all that invaded among the incurable blurs of memory, but the white wall and the green door stood out quite distinctly. Interesting. I beat the game long ago, but the graphics are good and wonderful. That's good to hear. That makes me happy. That makes me very happy to know, Ghostface. Kingdom Hearts 3 is a very fun game for sure. I really like that game too. Alright, give me a moment to hydrate and to stretch. I will be right back. his trick, that the door was unfastened and that he could go in as he chose. I seem to see the figure of that little boy, drawn and repelled, and it was a very clear in his mind too, though why it should be so was never explained, that his father wouldn't be very angry if he went through that door. Wallace described all these moments of hesitation to me with utmost particularity. He went right past the door, and then, his hands in his pockets and making an infantile attempt to whistle, strolled right along beyond the end of the wall. There, he recalls, a number of mean, dirty shops, and particularly of that plumber and decorator of a dusty door, of earthen wire pipes, sheet lead, ball taps, patterned books, and wallpaper, and tins of enamel. He withstood pretending, examined these things, and coveting, passionate, desiring the green door. I would gladly take the drink, honestly. Ghostface, I would love to take the drink. But yes. Then he said he had a gust of emotion. He made a run for it, lest hesitation should grip him again. He went plumb with outstretched hands through the green door and let it slam behind him. And so that in a trice he came into a garden that has haunted him for all of his life. There was something in the air. There was something in that very air that exhilarated him, that gave him one sense of lightness and good happening and well-being. There was something in the sight that made all of its color clean and perfect and subtly luminous. In the instant of coming into one was exquisitively clad, as one in rare moments, and one in his young and joyful. One can be glad in this world, and everything was beautiful there. As Wallace mused before he went to telling me, you see, he said, with the doubtful inflection of a man who pauses at incredible things, there were two great panthers there. Yes, spotted panthers. And I was not afraid. There was a long path with marble-edged leaves, its cabs and tradesmen carts. I forgot the sort of gravitational pullback to the discipline and obedience of home. I forgot all hesitations and fear, forgot discretion, forgot all intimate realities of this life. I became, in a moment, a very glad, a wonder happy little boy. In another world. It was a world with a different quality, a warmer, more penetrating, a mellower light with a faint, clear gladness in its air, and wisps of a sun-touched cloud in the blueness of the sky. And before me ran this long, wide path, invitingly with weedless beds. On either side, rich with untended flowers, and these two great panthers. I put my little hands fearlessly on their soft fur and caressed their round ears and the sensitive corners under their ears, and played with them, and it was though they welcomed me home. I'm a bit now. I'm a bit now. Well asleep once already. No worries, friends. Thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate it. I hope you have a very nice sleep. I hope you have a good night's rest. Good night's rest. Okay? Yeah, laugh it up, I know. But yes, I hope you have a good night's rest. You sleep well. Good night. Alright, let us continue where I left off. Pretty mommy self always was so genuine. I guess that makes me happy to hear, Azina. I'm happy I managed to put you to sleep. But yes, welcome back. Alright. Let us... Okay. But I'm happy you've been enjoying the experience so far, Azina. But yes, welcome, welcome. Alright, let us continue now. You know, in that very moment, wait, I already read this, I believe, right? Yes, I did. There was a keen sense of homecoming in my mind, and when presently a tall, fair girl appeared in the path and came to meet me, smiling, and said, well, to me, and lifted me and kissed me, and put me down and led me by the hand. There was no amazement, but only an impression of delightful rightness, of being reminded of happy things that had in some strange way been overlooked. There were broad red steps, I remember, that came into view between the spikes of delphinium, and up these we went to a great avenue between very cold presently leaped to my shoulder. So we two went on our way in grabbing and happiness. And this is why you won't escape the mommy allegations. Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, I mean, I guess that is very true. You're not beating the allegations when I just agreed to you, like, you know, having a seat, or not having a seat, but having your head resting on my lap, you know. He paused. Go on, I said. Give me a minute to readjust myself again. Okay, alright, let us continue. I remember little things. We passed an old man musing among laurels. I remember, and a guy, I remember a place with parakeets, and came through a broaded shaded communalite to a spacious cool palace, full of pleasant fountains, full of beautiful things, full of the quality and promise of a heart's desire. There were many things and many people, some that still seem to stand out clearly, some that are still vaguer, but all these things were beautiful and kind. In some way, I don't know how, it was conveyed to me that they were all kind to me, glad to have me there and filling me with gladness by their gestures, by the touch of their hands, by the welcome and the love in their eyes. Yes. He mused for a while. Playmates I found there, that was much to me, because I was a lonely little boy. They played delight games in grass-covered courts, where the sundial set about the flowers, and one played, one loved. Next paragraph. But it's odd, there's a gap in my memory. I don't remember the games we played. I never remembered. Afterwards, as a child, I spent long hours trying, even with tears, to recall the form of that happiness. I wanted to play it over again and again and again. In my nursery, by myself. No. All I remember is the happiness and two dear playfellows who were most with me. Then presently came a somber woman wearing a soft, long robe of pale purple, who carried a book and beckoned and took me aside with her into a gallery above a hall. Though my playmates were loth to have me go, and ceased their little game, and stood watching as I carried away. Come back to us, they cried. Come back to us soon, please. I looked up at her face, but she heeded them not at Alice paused gravely, looked at me doubtfully. Go on, I said. I understand. They were realities, yes. They must have been. People moved and things came. And things came and things went in them. My dear mother, whom I'd near forgotten. My father, stern and upright. The servants, the nursery, all the familiar things of home. Then the front door and the busy streets, with traffic to and fro. I looked and marveled, and looked half doubtingly again into the woman's face, and turned the pages over, skipping this and that, to see more of this book and more. And so, at last, I came to myself, hovering and hesitating outside the green door in the long white wall, and felt again the conflict and fear. And next I cried, and would have turned on, but the cool hand of the grave woman delayed me. Next I insisted, and struggled gently with her hand, pulling up her finger with my childish strength. As I yielded, and the page came over, she bent down upon me like a shadow and kissed my brow. But the page did not show the enchanted garden, nor the panthers, nor the girl who led me by my hand, nor the playfellows who had been so loth to let me go. It showed a long, gray street in West Kinston, in that chill hour of afternoon, before the lamps are lit. As I was there, a wretched little figure, weeping aloud for all that I could restrain myself, and I was weeping because I could not return to my dear playfellows who had called after me. Come back to us. Come back to us soon. I was there. There was no page in the book, but harsh reality. That enchanted place, and the restraining hand of the grave mother his umbrella. Poor little chap, said he. Are you lost, then? And me, a London boy of 5 and more. He must needs bring in us kindly young policemen and make a crowd of me, and so march me home. Sobbing conspicuous and frightened, I came back from the enchanting garden to the steps of my father's house. I need to get some sleep because I'm starting to feel a little fatigued from the gym session. Alright then, yes, Asina. I love you too. Get some good night's rest. I hope you sleep well, Asina. Have a good night. I hope you have some lovely dreams. You sleep well. I have 20 minutes left on this stream. I am also feeling the fatigue. Okay, let us continue. That is as well. Night will dream about you. Well, make sure they're PG-13, okay, Hasina? Make sure they're PG-13. That is as well. I can remember my vision of that garden. The garden that still haunts me still. Of course, I can convey nothing of that indescribable quality of translucent unreality, that difference from the common things of experience that hung about it all. But that is what happened. I can't guarantee with such things, JK, by the way. I see. Well, I guess so. But yes, you have a good night's rest. Have a good night, Asina. I hope you sleep well. I hope you have a very, very lovely night. Let's see. I am sure it was daytime, an altogether extraordinary dream. Naturally, there followed a terrible questioning by my aunt, my father, the nurse, the governess, everyone. I tried to tell them, and my father gave me my first thrashing for telling me lies, when afterwards I tried to tell my aunt. She punished me again for my wicked persistence. Then, as I said, everyone was forbidden to listen to me, to hear a word about it. Even my fairy tale books were taken away from me for a time, because I was too imaginative. Yes, they said that. My father belonged to the old school, and my story was driven back upon myself. I whispered to my pillow that was often damp and salt to my whispering lips, with childish tears, and I added always to my visual and less fervent prayers this one heartfelt request: please, God, I may dream of the garden. Oh, take me back to the garden. Take me back to the garden. I dreamt often of the garden. I often I should ever speak of that wonder glimpse again. I asked an obvious question. No, he said. I don't remember that I ever attempted to find my way to the garden in those early years. This seems odd to me now, but I think that very probably a closer watch was kept on my movements after this misadventure to prevent my going astray. No, it wasn't till you knew me that I tried for the garden again. And I believed there was a period, incredible as it is now, when I forgot the garden altogether, when I was about 8 or 9, it may have been. Do you remember the kid, Saint Liston? Rather, I didn't show any signs, did I, in those days of having a secret dream? That was chapter 1. Let me adjust myself so I can get back to it. Okay, I am back. Alright, let us continue the story. Alright, a door in the wall. Chapter 2. He looked up with a sudden smile. Did you ever play the Northwest Passage with me? No, of course you didn't come this way. It was the sort of game, he went on, that every imaginative child plays all along, all day. The idea was the discovery of the Northwest Passage to the school. The way to the school was plain enough. Thank you for the hydrate vest, I appreciate it. And thank you for the pats too. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Take care of yourself, hydrate. Of course, you're right. You are absolutely right. I appreciate you, Vess. Thank you very much. Okay. Wasn't playing. Starting off 10 minutes early in some almost hopeless direction and working one's way around through unaccustomed streets to my goal. And one day I got entangled among some rather low-class streets on the other side of Campton Hill. Foxify, I mean, that's okay. I guess you wanted to give me both of that. I guess that's okay. So silly, Vess. That's very silly of you. Of course, all the love. Let's see. I tried rather desperately. A street that seemed a cul-de-sac. And found a passage at the end. I hurriedly, throughout the day, renewed was my long, white wall, and the green door that led to the enchanted garden. The thing whacked upon me suddenly. Then after all, the garden, that wonderful garden, wasn't a dream. He paused. I suppose my second experience with the green door marks the world of difference there is between the busy life of a schoolboy and the infinite leisure of a child. Anyhow, this second time I didn't for a moment think of going in straight away, you see. For one thing, my mind was full of the idea of getting to school in time, set on not breaking my record for punctuality. I'm back, everyone. Sorry for leaving. I was getting a little hungry. Ate some Nutella, chocolate cookies, and a glass of chocolate milk for tonight. That sounds wonderful. That sounds utterly lovely, honestly, Daniel. I am quite jealous of you, but welcome back. Welcome, welcome. Getting comfy ghost face, that's fair. But yes. Alright. Punctuality, yes. I must surely have felt some little desire, at least, to try the door, yes. I must have felt that. But I seem to remember the attraction of the door, mainly as another obstacle for my overmastering determination to get to school. I was immediately interested by the discovery I had made, of course. I went on with my mind full of it. But I went on. There we go. Okay, let's get this started. Let's see. I was immediately interested by this discovery I had made, of course. I went on with my mind full of it. But I went on. I didn't check me. I ran past, talking out my watch. I found I had 10 minutes to still to spare. And then I was going downhill into familiar surroundings. I got to school breathless, it is true, and wet with perspiration, but in time. I can remember hanging up my coat and hat. Went right by it and left it behind me. Odd, huh? Heath looked at me thoughtfully. Of course, I didn't know then that it wouldn't always be there. Schoolboys have limited imaginations. I suppose I thought I was an awfully jolly thing to have there. To know my way back. But there was school tugging at me. I expect I was a good deal distraught and inattentive that morning, recalling what I could of the beautiful, strange people I should presently see again. Oddly enough, I had no doubt in my mind they would be glad to see me. Yes, I must have thought of the garden that morning, just as a jolly sort of place to which one might resort in interludes of a strenuous scholastic career. I didn't go that day. next day was half holiday, and that may have weighed me. Perhaps too, my state of inattention brought my impositions upon me, and dogged the margin of time necessary for a detour. I don't know. What I do know is that in the meantime, the enchanted garden was so much upon my mind that I could not keep myself from dreaming about it again and again. Hopkins it was. I did not like telling him. I had a feeling that in some way it was against the rules, but I did. He was walking part of the way home with me. He was talkative, and if he was not talked about the enchanted garden, we should have talked of something else. It was intolerable to me to think of any other subject, and so I continued on and on about this enchanted garden. For a time, my friend stared silently into the red heart of the fire. Then he said, I never saw it again until I was 17. It leapt upon me for a third time as I was driving to Paddington on my way to Oxford and a scholarship. I had just one momentary glimpse. I was leaning over the apron of my Hamson, smoking a cigarette, and no doubt thinking myself no end of a man of the world. And suddenly there was a door, the wall, the dear sense of unforgettable and still attainable things. Let's see. He leaned over the table to me with an enormous sorrow in his voice as he spoke. Thrice I have been given the chance, thrice. If ever that door ever opens itself to me again, I swore I will go out this dust and heat, out of this dry glitter of vanity, out of those toilsome futilities I will go, and never return. That was chapter 2. I hope all of you liked that chapter 2. Unfortunately, I am quite exhausted, and I think it is time for me to read out, unfortunately. I hope all of you loved that. Thank you again. Thank you very much for for reaching the community goal. Never in my life, or actually no, I highly doubted all of you were capable of reaching 300,000 channel points saved for this goal. But congratulations to all of you who saved for this goal. Genuinely. This wouldn't have been possible without all of you here. So, thank you very much for joining in. Thank you for the pats, Daniel. I appreciate them. Let's see. Who should we read? Thank you for the pats, Vess. I appreciate them too. Alright. Thank you so much for the ASMR. Of course, it was my joy. I had a lot of fun. Doing this. Do you have any suggestions on who I should raid, Daniel? I don't quite I should be reading in the ASMR space. I'm not very good at this, unfortunately, so yeah. Let me see. Alright then. We will rate someone from the ASMR space. That way I don't like immediately wake someone up because we're playing. That way I don't wake someone up for, immediately jumping into something like that. But yes. Hey Casimir, welcome back. What's up? So when's part 3? I don't know when part 3 is happening, Vess, I'll be honest with you. I might make it another community goal, who knows? Pommy. Okay, we will rate Pommy then. Let's see, can I find this person? Here, but who knows, we might do a part 3. We might do a part 3. Vess. Let's see, where is Pommy? There they are. Alright then, let's rate them. Okay, again, thank all of you for watching. I genuinely appreciate those of you who tuned in for the ASMR stream, of course. Y'all did a wonderful job. Y'all did a wonderful job. Let's see. Okay. That is a lowercase p, not. Okay. Alright. Once again, thank all of you for joining. I hope I did. I see. Yeah, you did. You definitely did. I will see all of you around Wednesday. I will see all of you Wednesday.